All right, let's see. Are we good now? All right.
I think we're good now.
Are we good now?
I don't know if we're actually going to be really good, but we'll see. I know we have an echo. Give me a second. Delete that one. Something's definitely up with YouTube. All right. So let's start again, shall we? So this is a nice little seamless thing here. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Assassin's Creed. Publisher Ubisoft says many new games are struggling as players turn away from traditional releases. We're going to talk about Hytale early access coming soon. And we're going to talk about Fortnite takes aim at Roblox as Unity and Unreal Engine join forces. Now, we're also going to talk about the Video Game Awards show and how I think there should be a criteria in type of stuff, okay? Now, if you're just joining me, we were talking about this on the other stream, but it got destroyed. So now we're over here talking about this one. What's going on? Good morning, Slug. Good morning, Casualties of Gaming. So, Game of the Year, I always think there should be some sort of criteria, okay? And the criteria, again, this is just my opinion. I think there should be a standard. I don't know if it's going to be across the board for a lot of people, but there should be some sort of standard that actually happens. But sometimes, obviously that doesn't happen because there's a lot of politics involved. There's a lot of people that purchase certain things or give money to certain companies. And people look at this and say, no, that's not happening. But it is. Okay. So basically, you can look at these numbers right here. Okay. These are the Game of the Year nominees right now. And these are the scores next to them in the Metacritic. Now, we look at Metacritic, and you're like, well, who gives a shit about Metacritic? Metacritic shouldn't be the one-all, be-all, okay? Now, it should be amongst its peers. The peers meaning the people that make the games, the other studios and stuff like that. And when reviewers, game journalists, as we call them, they should bipartisan. They shouldn't go because I hate AI, this one gets a 2 out of 5. They should vote the games on how they want, and then throughout the year, you have the scores, right? So as you can see, Clair Obscure's got a 92, Death Stranding's got an 89, Donkey Kong's got a 91, Hades 2's got a 95, Hollow Knight Silk Song's got a 90, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has an 88, okay? Now, Split Fiction was one of the games I think should have made this list, and that's at a 91 as well. I think the first criteria is that your score should be one of the 6th highest in the actual thing. Now, where it varies is based on, let's say, for instance, Donkey Kong's got a 91, Split Fiction's got a 91, okay? Now, if Donkey Kong is nominated for 3 awards, meaning level design, art direction, whatever it is, then that should also be now in the criteria. So you have one of the highest top 6 scores. Then you've also been nominated for multiple things, right? So let's go to the actual Game Awards. Okay. Let's go to the Game Awards website. If it works this morning. Maybe it's still getting over flooded with people trying to vote. I have no idea. Okay. But we're just going to go to the categories, right? So if your game is one of the 6th highest level games as Game of the Year, obviously, okay, that's your first criteria. Your first criteria is you're one of the top 6 best games, score-wise. The second one is, all right, well, if you've been nominated for best game direction, best narrative, best art direction, best score and music, best audio design, best performance, right? Innovative, right? So let's say Donkey Kong got 3 or 4 of these categories, and Split Fiction only got 2. Well, then Donkey Kong would be in that category above Split Fiction because it's got more of their peers looking at this saying, oh, I had a really good narrative, had a really good art direction, had a really good score, and that's what it is, right? Obviously, that's not what's happening, okay? But that's criteria number 2, where if your peers are telling you that, well, you got the best RPG, you got the best action game or whatever it is, and you've been nominated for multiple categories, then, and you have a high score, well, then that should also make it, okay? What I think is strange, okay, is Ghost of Yote was nominated for quite a few, right? So you have Yote was Best Game Direction. Okay, Best Game Direction was in there. Death Stranding was here. Hades was here. Split Fiction was here. So that's one for that, right? Then Best Narrative, you also have Ghost of Yote, and you have Kingdom Come Deliverance, and you have Silent Hill. Okay. Then in Best Art Direction, Yote's here again. Okay, Hades 2 is here. Hollow Knight Silk Song. You see a running thematic here, right? Hades has been already nominated for like 3 awards before Game of the Year. Okay, Best Score and Music, Yote is here. Hades 2 is here. Hollow Knight Songs here. Death Stranding 2 is here. Clear Obscure is here. Okay, Best Audio Design, Battlefield 6, Clear Obscure, Death Stranding, Yote, Silent Hill. Okay, Best Performance, you have multiple characters from Expedition 33. You have Ghost of Yote. You have Silent Hill. You got Indiana Jones. Okay, Innovation of Accessibility, right? None of the top games are there, so this category doesn't really, I mean, it matters, but overall, right? So you see what's happening here? So when certain games are nominated in multiple categories, and yet they don't make the Game of the Year, there's something wrong with that. Okay, there's something wrong with that. When you can get nominated for the top of the things, right? And then Best Independent Game here, right? Again, Blueprints is here, Clear Obscure is here, Hades here, Hollow Knight. So these games have been, these 3 games particularly, are all in the Game of the Year category, and they've also been in multiple other categories, and they also have one of the highest scores across the board. So when you go look at the Game of the Year, and you see a Donkey Kong, okay? When you see a Donkey Kong in here, let me go back here. Right? When you see Donkey Kong in this category, and I think Donkey Kong has only got 2, right? I think it's Donkey Kong Game of the Year, and it's also been Family Game, right? Split Fiction's got 4. That's also got a 91, right? Yote's got 6 or 7 nominations, okay? And that's not in this category. It just looks a little weird. It changes what you perceive as, well, how can this game be nominated for 6 awards, 7 awards, and then yet not be in the talk of Game of the Year? You see what I'm saying, chat? It seems a little strange to me. Put your bias aside if you like a game or you don't like a game. Just on the criteria of high score amongst the peers, it's in multiple categories. Okay, we're not even talking about game sales, right? We're not even talking about game sales. Just overall, the art itself, the art design, the directing, the acting, the level design, whatever it is, right? Some of these games shouldn't have made the Game of the Year because of either the score or other things that include, like, not part of the thing, right? Yote should be here. I'm not a Yote fan. I've never played it. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm just looking at what it is, right? Yote is a high-level game as far as score-wise. It's been nominated for multiple categories, and yet it's not in the talks of Game of the Year. And we should look at that and go, well, something's wrong with the system, right? I don't know if it's just the video game awards system or if it's the total, because we haven't seen the other categories like the BAFTA awards that get nominated later in the year. But there's just something off about it in my eyes. Right? So what do you guys think? Should there be some sort of criteria, total criteria to look at it and go, yeah, you might like Death Stranding, but if Death Stranding got one of the highest scores for the year, but got nominated for nothing but Game of the Year, something's off there when another game has been nominated for 6 awards, has the highest score, and it's also not nominated for that, right? Let me know your guys' thoughts. These are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe, and if you like what I do here, check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. Jack says, the 2025 nominations are similar to the 2023 nominations, which was Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Legends of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Right? You see what I'm saying? Like, Waterbear says 7 noms, not Game of the Year is wild. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Water. Right? And again, I have no stake. Right? Again, I'm not a PlayStation guy. I'm not an Xbox guy. I'm looking at just from 30,000 feet up in the air going, how does this Yote have that many nominations and is not nominated for Game of the Year? Seems a little weird to me. Let's see. The Last of Us Season 2 got nominated for Best Adaptation. Sarge says, yes, there should be a criteria for picking a winner. I just feel like if you have one of the top scorers and you've been nominated for multiple categories, I don't think you should be in the category. You shouldn't even be in the running of Game of the Year if you didn't even get nominated for other ones. And the other ones that got nominated 7 times are not in the running for Game of the Year. Like if you're not even nominated for like sound design or art direction or anything like that, then you shouldn't even be in the running for Game of the Year. They do have a criteria. It's just to ignore the criteria. And been this for the last 4 years. I think it's been longer than that. I think the entire time that the Game Awards, and again, it's not the Game Awards. It's Game Awards in general, not the Game Awards, not Keeley's Awards. There's something wrong with the way they choose stuff. Right here, it says the jury right here. Okay. So here's the jury, right? These are the people that tell you what Game of the Year is, right? These are all the people that tell you what Game of the Year is. All these people. All these companies are the ones that tell you what Game of the Year is. Well, how is it possible that a game has got nominated for 7 nominations for different awards and not make Game of the Year? Let's go for the FAQ and the rules. Each outlet has their own criteria. Well, it's stupid. No, they don't even tell you. Do they tell you about the what's the criteria? Do they have a? Oh, here, the award process right here. The award process. Okay, here's their criteria. Okay, here's their criteria. How are the nominees selected? Nominees of most categories of the Game Awards are chosen by international jury of over 100 global media influencer outlets, selected of their history of criteria, video game, and evolution. Specialized juries also convey of other categories, including esports, accessibility, and best adaptation. Each voting outlet complies in a confidential, unranked ballot based on collective and diverse opinion in the entire editorial staff listing out of its top 5 chosen in each category. Ballots are tabulated, and the 5 games that appear on the most ballots are put forth as the nominees. Okay, fantastic. In the events of a tie, 6 or more nominees will be announced in a category. Okay, which means, just to let you know, that Arc Raiders for sound design didn't make it because there was only 5 games that needed best sound design. They couldn't even, that means Arc Raiders wasn't even in the running for it, right? Game Awards producer Jeff Keighley is not a member of the jury and does not vote on any of the nominees or winners. Similar to the Game Awards advisory board, has no involvement in the award process and leans into results of the same time in general public. Okay. Why do we use the jury and selection nominees? Given the sheer number of games released each year, as well as the extended time required to fully evaluate products, a voting outlet approach allows the widest possible critical assessment. The ballot submitted to the actual Game Awards represents a collective opinion of an entire outlet. Okay. How are the winners selected? Winners are determined of a blend vote between a voting jury of 90% and a public fan voting of 10%. Fans can vote for a favorite game of the Game Awards. Okay. In China, fans can vote on the winners via Bilibili and other platforms. And fan voting closes on Saturday, December 10th at 6 p.m. Okay. Why don't fans count or fans 100% select the winner? Creating a 100% fan vote presents several challenges. I agree with this. Okay. It should be a mix, but you can make multiple accounts, right? You can make multiple accounts. You can select your favorite game and be biased against other things that you've never even played. Okay. It says, are voting outlets given free or advertised copies of the games? At the start of the award season, game publishers and developers are provided with the access of a list of outlets that will submit nomination ballots. While most of the voting outlets have access to the games through normal editorial process, publishers and developers are permitted to provide review copies of digital redemption codes. Okay. That's the cutoff. How are live service games handled? The Game Awards recognize that many of the games' ongoing service and evolve over time, and content features and improvements. Games released in previous years are eligible in all reward categories, so as long as the jury feels the inclusion is merited due to the new content improvements of service updates. In addition, the best ongoing game category specifically recognizes the titles that continue to. Okay. Early access, how to submit a game, is it free entry, do sponsors advertise, the game company is made aware, all ducks expansions. Okay, so the criteria to pick these things is literally just, if I have an organization and we have 5 people, so it's me, Eclipse, Water, Sarge, and Altern, right? There's 5 employees. I'm part of, my company is part of the process. We put our 5 games of each category that we think, okay? So let's say I choose Split Fiction and Water chooses Split Fiction. Sarge, Eclipse, and Altern do not pick Split Fiction, right? Split Fiction would make it because 2 of the 5 people in our thing, it would make it, right? Each of us picks a different game. It would be a tie. So then we would try to figure out who the tie is, and then once our company has the ones that we want, then it gets sent to them, and they go, oh. We had Split Fiction over here, right? So there's 2 of us in the company. One of us actually, as a company now, submits the 5 categories, and they go, all right, Split Fiction's in there. All the other companies do the exact same thing. So if you have 100 people in your company, if you have 5 people at your company, if you have 1,000 people at your company, and they're all voting, they see what makes the most. The majority put that into a list, and then they submit that to the actual award show. Seems a little weird, considering you should nominate sorry. Once the categories, again, how can Yote, again, who would have thunk it, right? Because everyone always calls me an Xbox fanboy. Who would have thought that an Xbox fanboy, okay, is looking at Yote and saying, how is it nominated for 6, 7 different categories and yet not nominated for Game of the Year? How does that work? Who is tallying up this and going, hey, shouldn't something be done here? How does it make it all these other categories and not make it in the top 6, even though it's a better score, been nominated for multiple things? How does Split Fiction be nominated for 4, where some of the other ones are less than that, and yet that game is not nominated for Game of the Year? Make it make sense for me, chat. Make it make sense. All right, let me see what you guys are saying here. Jason says, so much hate for Donkey Kong, yet no one even here played it, I bet. Again, it has nothing to do with if I like Donkey Kong or not. Everything that I've said personally, Jason, is based on the categories of the games that have been chosen for it, right? If the categories, in my opinion, and the catalog of the games and the criteria for the games is top score, Donkey Kong makes top score, but it wasn't nominated for more than the other games that were in that list, that shouldn't be part of Game of the Year because it wasn't nominated for anything else besides family and Game of the Year. The Game of the Year category is not a nomination for it. All these other ones feed into this one to go, hey, all the games that we've nominated for all of these, which of these games out of all of these are the best to get into this last category, which is Game of the Year? Yes, you're right. You should be objective as part of agreeing on which subjective system to use, right? Which they don't do that. They just, what's your favorite one, right? So imagine just us, right? As Jason's saying, the people that are hating on something, but they didn't even play it. How do you know that the people that are voting played all the games? You don't. You're taking the word of the people that are in the nomination process. So there needs to be a criteria. And if the criteria of the bias is like A doesn't know what B is voting on, B doesn't know what C is voting on, but A through Z are all voting on stuff. So then when it comes to the nominations, when it comes to the Game Awards, they look at this and tally up all the stuff and go, okay, from all these other categories, these are the top 6 games based on these categories that were voted as the best. these games have the highest score. These games have been nominated for the most things. As such, these 6 games are the best for the Game Awards. They're not doing that. Did the Fallout series get nominated? I believe it did. I think it did. Maybe it didn't because the last time it came out was the 2023, right? So I don't think it did. I don't know. Let's go look. Was it adaptation? Let's see. VR, best action RPG, best strategy, best adaptation. It's not clicking on the actual thing. Cool. Let me refresh and see if it. We got Minecraft, Devil May Cry, Splinter Cell, Death Watch, Last of Us, and Until Dawn. No, Fallout didn't make it. So Fallout will be next year on the list of next year. Travis says 30. I mean, the show is only for trailers anyway. Basically, it's here. Pat on the back show. Again, the award show is there to make advertisement money and stuff like that for trailers for the customers and consumers. But the award show is there for the people in the industry to win awards, to show the best of the best for them. Again, I talked about this yesterday and last week, right? The award show is not for you. The award show is for the people in the industry that have been working 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years on a video game, and now they're being recognized for their work. I'm not talking about this from a viewer standpoint. I'm talking about this from a industry standpoint. If they're going to have an award show, they should have a criteria of how they pick the game of the year. The game of the year shouldn't be voted on by the people of those outlets. It should be voted on all the other categories inside of the award show, and then the top 6 from the other categories. If they were nominated for this, and this, the top 6 are nominated for Game of the Year. Let's see. IGN, enough said. Let's see. Let's see. Waterbear says new Ghost 2 snubbed all while being in 7 fucking categories. Do you see what I'm saying, though, Water? That's crazy. Imagine being amazing in 7 areas of your job, but the guy who gets promotion is good only at 1 or 2 areas. Yeah, and they get nominated and you don't. Do you see a fundamental problem with that? I guarantee you a lot of people are not talking about this, right? They're not talking about this. They're talking about other games that got snubbed from the Game of the Year because they liked it. No, we're just talking about the actual awards. This one got 9. This one got 12. This one got 7. This one got... Yet, there's a couple missing inside the Game of the Year. Eclipse says, you know what's going to be funny if Ghost doesn't win any of those. It doesn't matter if they win, right? The criteria, Eclipse, is if... Again, in the criteria that I'm putting forefront to you, is if you're nominated for 8 categories, 7 categories, then you should be in the running for Game of the Year, regardless if you win or lose, right? Let me ask you something. If Expedition 33, in some strange world, loses every category, okay, but yet wins Game of the Year, should that null and void what it is? No. It still was in the running for art, sound, story, acting, right? And it could lose every one of those, but it could win Game of the Year, right? It's not about that. The Game of the Year category, again, I'll say it again, I'll say it 1,000 times. The Game of the Year category shouldn't be voted on what everyone thinks is the Game of the Year. Everyone votes on all the other categories, and then the Game Awards, based on the tallies of all these other stuff, is what put in for and says Game of the Year. That's what it should be. Feels Good Man says, Ghost of Yote reminds me of another open world Ubisoft game. Nothing special to me. Again, it doesn't matter what you feel if you like the game or don't like the game. It was nominated for 7 different categories. Feels Good says all we know is Expedition 33 is cleaning house. Absolutely, it could do a Lord of the Rings. What Lord of the Rings did for the Oscars one year. He won like 12 different awards, 11 awards. I hope it does. I hope it does. I hope it does, and it sets a new standard for what games should be. Remember, Expedition 33, complete game. Voice acting, beautiful soundtrack, complete game. Not broke, not buggy, not unfinished. You don't have to wait a year for it to have DLC to come out to complete the game. I would like to be using mathematics to determine the best game, but the variables were vibes. Being consistent is better than nothing. I guess it just seems off to me that you could be nominated for one category and then be up there for Game of the Year and also not have one of the highest scores for the year. There's a reason I'm against certain games being there. Like I was saying the other night, talking through the categories. Game of the Year is in its own category. No, Game of the Year. Am I not making myself clear, Jones? Game of the Year, you could pick your Game of the Year. Anyone can pick a Game of the Year, right? You could pick Hello Kitty's Great Adventure and you can nominate, just like you're voting for president or whatever. You can fill in Bart Simpson into the thing. Okay. Again, in my criteria, in my thing that I'm talking about, is that the Game of the Year category should not be chosen by individuals saying this game is Game of the Year. It should be voted on all the other categories, and then the Game Awards takes from all the other categories. So if your game was nominated for 6 spots, 5 spots, 4 spots, 3 spots, and you have a top score, you're one of the top scorers in the industry, and you've been nominated for director and acting and all these other stuff, they go, these 6 games are the best games from this list. Titan says family category is Nintendo's category brought to you by Nintendo. Rogue says, I mean, if it's the noms are for 7 different aspects, design, sound, direction, etc., that should mean it's complete. Came and should be nominated for Game of the Year. That's exactly my point, Roic. It's exactly my point. Warbird says, for the slow people watching again, what 30 is saying is how the hell are you nominated for Game of the Year if you only have one other category over games that have been multiple categories? Yes. Thanks for translating, Water. I know I'm taking crazy pills. Do you know what I mean? Does that not make sense? Like, Game of the Year shouldn't be its own category of what you think a Game of the Year is. It should be Game of the Year based on the other categories it was nominated for. The best of the best should not be based on someone's feelings about the game. It's a measurable factor. Exactly. And the measurable factor is if you're the best in directing, acting, sound design, and all these things, then and only then should you be nominated for Game of the Year. Right? I'm not picking a game because I like the game or not. I would pick Split Fiction. Split Fiction or Expedition 33 would be my choice of Game of the Year. Okay? Regardless of that, Split Fiction was nominated for 4, and it has a 91. Right? Expedition was nominated for 12, and it has a 94, 95, whatever the fuck it is. Right? These games should be nominated and be in the Game of the Year award nominations. Should they win? That's up for the people that vote to say, okay, now that you've set this in front of me, this is who I'm voting for. This is an emergent property of Game of the Year being on its own category and not an average of other categories. Do you understand, though, Jones, that how do you have a game nomination for 7 awards and not nominated for Game of the Year? Let me put this in perspective. Okay, you're at a job, you're working, you get Employee of the Month every month for the entire year. So an award ceremony comes now. You were the Employee of the Month every fucking month, and yet Susan gets the job and gets the award for the bonus at the end of the year because she won Best Employee of the Year. You got 12 wins across the entire year. The award ceremony at the end of the year for your company comes and they're like, and the winner is for best employee, Susan. And you're like, I got best employee for 12 months. How is it possible? Who did Susan blow to get that win? Hey, come on. You can't tell me, Jones, that you wouldn't be pissed if you were nominated for 7 months of the 12. Susan got 1, and she's Employee of the Year. Jason says, I don't doubt Death Stranding 2 is a good game, but given that Jeff and Kojima history is biased, so it's too hard to ignore it. Well, that's why they put it in the actual rules. Jeff has nothing to do with the nominations. Sure. 30, and politicians should do their job and help the county. Sadly, we don't live in that land. We don't need to bring up politics in here. I'm talking about a criteria for a fucking award show. I'm not asking you to vote for the fucking president of the United States or who you like or don't like. I'm talking about a game award show and the end category, the one that everyone works that wants to know what's the game of the year. The category shouldn't be except for the people that are already in the other nominations. Remember, going into the theaters and my buddies also see all 3 Lord of the Rings movies. The 2 Towers was epic to see in theaters. Oh, yeah, I miss those times. Windows says, when Expedition 33 cleans house, they're going to show how you don't need a huge budget for hundreds of developers to make a good game and aren't even AAA. Exactly. I hope it does. I hope it wins and tears apart the entire industry. I do. I mean, it doesn't really matter because if you go to all the top games, right? If you go to the top games for Game of the Year, why isn't your site working, Jeff? All right? Why isn't your site working? Why do I have to keep refreshing? Okay. If you look at the games, okay? Independent game, indie game, right? If any of these 4 games win, right? Fantastic. Because 3 of the 4 games, I don't. How much was Kingdom Come Deliverance when it came out? Was it full price or was it under full price? Was it $50 or was it $70? Okay, I know Hades, Hollow Knight, and Clair Obscur were all non-full price games, all independent studios. Game Awards are a joke anyway. People care so much about these nominations. It's hilarious. Again, Kylo, it's not about the people. What I'm talking about from a industry standard. I'm not talking about what you care or what I care about. The awards are not about you or about me. It's about the people that worked on the game and being acknowledged that they worked on that game, and that's what they get awards for. Right? When I worked on a movie, if that movie got nominated for an Emmy or an Oscar, that's huge for me. Right? I was part of multiple productions that won Emmys. That's fantastic. That shows somebody else when I get a job, right? They're like, "Oh, you worked on this? Well, I'm going to get the job over somebody else because I was part of a crew that won a fucking award." Do you understand? For everybody else in the world, it doesn't fucking matter. For the people in the business that these awards are, it matters for them huge. Z says, I'm sorry. What's the point again? Is everyone paying attention? Akkus says 30. I don't like these certain games, but I can still recognize excellence. There's also where things are also given wins like Expedition 33, even though I don't like the game. I get what you're saying. That's just what could happen when Game of the Year is its own category. The Game of the Year, it makes a mockery of what the rest of the stuff is. If you win 7 awards or nominated for 7 awards and you're not up for Game of the Year. It's $60 on PC, I'm pretty sure. Okay. Yeah, I hope Expedition 33 sweeps the whole entire thing. And then everyone will cry and go, hey, they should give awards to other people. Yeah, make a game. Make a game, sell a game. Yeah, Hollow Knight was like $20. Hades was like 20, 25, wasn't it? Right? Clair Obscur was 50. No, 40? 50. Winjo says, the one thing I can say is I don't agree with the sound design. Arc Raiders didn't get in there. When they didn't say their name yesterday, Winzo, I was like, oh, well, maybe they didn't make the cutoff. And then the very next category, they made it. And I was like, wait a minute. They didn't get sound design, but yet they got other category? Like, again, they don't have to win sound design, but to not nominate Arc Raiders for sound design when they only put 5, by the way. They only put 5 in that category. They didn't put 6. They could have put a 6th one in, but for some reason they didn't do it. And if it's voted amongst the people in the industry and they didn't vote for Arc Raiders to get sound design, it makes you wonder, should you be listening to these people because do they know what good sound design is? Yeah. Like, what are we talking about? How do you nominate something or not nominate something when it's obviously good sound design? Yeah, Z, but can you prove it? You know? Can you prove it? Can you prove the reason they didn't vote for Arc Raiders was because of the sound, because of the AI? They were nominated for other things, so all right, going from that to this, okay? If you guys like what I do here, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning until noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as low as $5. So Assassin's Creed publisher Ubisoft says new games are struggling. Yeah, new games are struggling. Look at Arc Raiders struggling. I mean, obviously, it's not a single-player game. What other games are struggling? Oh, wait. Let's just go back to the Game Awards. Let's look at all the single-player games struggling. Clair Obscur, struggling. Death Stranding 2, struggling. Donkey Kong, struggling. Hades 2, struggling. Hollow Knight Silksong, struggling. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, struggling. Look at all of these struggle single-player games. Right? Let's go back to the article now. Okay. As players turn away from traditional releases in favor of subscription, live service, and free-to-play games. Okay. So Ubisoft has warned of falling company revenue, has said it's seen that that many new games are struggling to stand out as players turn away from traditional full-price releases. No. See, Ubisoft, this is where you lose. I haven't even got past the first sentence inside the article. The reason that your games are struggling and you think that the industry is changing is because you keep making the same boring, repetitive, minimal viable product game every single year. Every single time. It's the exact same template, stamp, move on, put it out, right? That's your problem with your games, okay? It says projects that would previously have stood out are now finding enough to achieve the sales they may once have had. Ubisoft wrote in a new UK financial filing, thanks to City AM, which blames wider change as taste amongst players. I don't need to say much. The taste amongst players is changing. Okay? Explain that the traditional full game model of selling a single $50, $60, $65 to $80 game to consumers as one-time purchase has continued to become less ambiguous, okay? Ubisoft said players were now opting to spend their time and money in other ways, such as subscription services, long-running games as a service titles, free-to-play games, and cloud streaming. That's because you're not making a game. You're not making a game. Again, let's go back to here. Is there microtransactions in Clair Obscur? Is there microtransactions in Death Stranding? Is there microtransactions in Donkey Kong? Is there microtransactions in Hades too? I don't know. Let me know. You guys let me know. Is there microtransactions in Hollow Knight Silksong? Is there microtransactions in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? Now let me go back and ask the question again. Is there a battle pass in Clair Obscur Expedition 33? Is there a battle pass in Death Stranding 2? Is there a battle pass in Donkey Kong Bonanza? Is there a battle pass in Hades 2? Is there a battle pass in Hollow Knight Silk Song? Is there a battle pass in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? I already know the answer to these. The answer is no. Okay? In a nutshell, Ubisoft continued consumers... And look at this thing, right? Ubisoft looks at you as a consumer. Consumer. Not a customer, a consumer. Are playing fewer games, as while some of the full-price titles were also continuing to be successful, these had become a fewer notable exceptions to the wider trend is continued. Okay, the remarks came amidst of a continued period of uncertainty for Ubisoft, which has suffered layoffs and sizable corporate restructure in the past year. The Paris-headquartered company, whose biggest franchises are now operated by independent subsidiary backed by Tencent, has struggled to find its next big hit after disappointing sales of Star Wars Outlaws. Make a game, sell a game. Okay, and continue to attempt to crack the increasingly saturated live service game market, such as with Doom Shooter X Defiant, and also preemptively canceled the division Heartland. Okay, as for Assassin's Creed, the company has gone all in on the biggest brand, though it's forced a slow production line of upcoming games for remakes and gives the year's Assassin's Creed Shadows more time. Still, a slew of upcoming other titles in the franchise are expected to over a few years, including a witchcraft-focused Hex, also a multiplayer spin-off, a long-awaited Black Flag remake. Last week, Ubisoft dramatically halted trading of its company shares and postponed a wider firm latest financial report and mere minutes before the scheduled shareholder call was due to go live. Days later, Ubisoft has yet to provide more context for that move, and fans of its games and the vast majority of its staff wait to hear more, right? Do you see what happens when you stop buying the slop that they're selling? They're confused. They're like, wait a minute. They're not buying our single-player games because they like live service games. They don't like Ubisoft games because, well, they just don't want to play long single-player games anymore. No, we don't want games in single-player games where you're putting microtransactions in there and battle passes in there and boring games that you've already created multiple times over the last 15 years is the exact same thing. Like, I'm so confused on how Ubisoft runs the company, which obviously they're not running the company. That's why it's going into the shitter, okay? I'm so confused on how Ubisoft looks at this and says, oh, well, the reason they're not saying is because they like free-to-play games. How's that working out for you for your live service game of Skull and Bones? How's that working out for you, Ubisoft? Right? No one ever talks about Skull and Bones anymore, right? 12 years, 15 years for them to make that game? I don't remember seeing that being nominated for anything, ever. Right? All this stuff is just ridiculous, right? All this stuff is ridiculous. Yeah, but the Expedition do you have to log in every day to Expedition 33? You have to log in every day to go up your battle pass to get the skins and whatnot? No. Did you pay full price for Expedition 33? No. Right? Ubisoft and a lot of other companies are tone deaf, right? Right? Are tone deaf. They don't understand. These guys are running the industry. These guys run video game companies and are confused on what people want. We tell them what we want. We're like, hey, make more of this, right? We asked for Black Flag 10 years ago, a sequel. And they were like, we hear you. And they made Skull and Bones. Okay? You ask for something, and they're like, we hear you. And then they go make something completely different. Right? Bethesda. We asked for a co-op game of Fallout or Skyrim. Just one other person that could play with you. And they went, we hear you. Let's go make an MMO. We hear you. Let's go make Fallout 76. We understand what you guys want. Right? We want Halo. Oh, by the way, we're bringing you Halo, but by the way, it's not actual Halo. It's sort of like Halo. All right? You want Battlefield? We got you Battlefield, but we're bringing in a Battle Royale and Portal. Right? They don't hear. They're like, la, 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 la. It's that clip from Dumb and Dumber. Right? Where they're talking to each other in the car. And Jim Carrey's just covering his ears. La, la, I can't hear you. Right? That's the video game industry in a nutshell. But these are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments section down below. Right? Do you think do you think the Ubisoft is correct? Nobody wants single-player games, even though every popular game that people are playing, majority right now, okay, are single player games. There's even indie games, right? Indie games. Blueprints sold phenomenally, okay? Single player. You have Schedule 1 sold a shit ton. Pal World, which is a single player game and also a co-op game, okay, sold a shit ton. They sold so many, they don't even know what to do with their money. Nintendo needed to sue them so they could spend it. Okay? These companies do not understand the business that they're in. Again, these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe, and if you like what I do here, check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. Roic says, make a game, make a new game that it's not the same crap. Make a reasonable price with no microtransactions, and you might make more money. Who wants to pay $70 for a game and it's microtransactions and wait for it to be complete? Star Wars Outlaws, if they took the DLCs that they were going to do and the game was complete, would have sold a lot better. But they didn't want to make it. They put a girl protagonist in there. When people are like, we don't like the girl protagonist, you could have made a game where instead of making the game that you made, you could have made a Han Solo game. You could have literally made a Han Solo game with Chewie and Han Solo. Okay? You could have completed that game, and it would have been a banger. Instead, you're like, we're putting this character, which is fine. I actually liked the game. I thought she was good, but the game itself, the shooting, the driving, and the stealth were broke. We're broke. Okay? And because it was broke, they're like, well, you're sexist. Or, I didn't want to play the game because it was broke, buggy, and unfinished. No, it's because you're sexist, you're racist, and you're misogynistic. Even though I played the full game, put 52 hours, 56 hours in the game, I enjoyed the game and said, well, it'll be fixed in about 8 months. And lo and behold, it got fixed in 10 months. But Ubisoft looks at that and says they weren't interested in the single-player game. No, we weren't interested in a broken, buggy, unfinished single-player game. Jason says, the bottom of the barrel company, they neglect Splinter Cell and Rainbow Six for the ass creed every year. Yep. Easy, minimal viable product. Copy pasta. Change the landscape. I don't know if you watched it, 30, but a guy that made Path of Exile has a video on dark patterns. It's very good. I haven't. I think it popped up as I think Asmongold. I saw it this morning. I didn't watch it though. Is it the bald guy? He's like a bald guy. I think I saw Asmongold popped up in my chat. I think he was talking about it. Let's see. Expedition 33 was made off by a laid-off Ubisoft. Let that sink in. And it did sell well for AA debut. Yeah, this is why we're also mad, because the ex-developers made a better game than them. Robert Jones says people's tastes have changed. They don't want the same Ubisoft cut and paste formula year after year. Argus says, all right, I'm back. What'd I miss? A lot. Let's see. Oh, a woman protagonist, unless they're like Eve and Stellar Blade, and that's very classy and respectable. Right. Nobody wants to play a single-player game, though. Stellar Blade sold great, right? Nobody wants to play a single-player game, but yet last year's winner of Astrobot was a single-player game, and guess what? That won Game of the Year. But no one wants to play. It only sold like 2 million, 3 million copies. But my point is, people want to play single-player games, but they also want to play complete single-player games. They want to play a game that doesn't have microtransactions, doesn't have all these other shit involved. Could it also not slammed massive with so many projects? That's also true. Yep. Let's see. Sarge says, minimal viable product, bro. Copy pasta. Yep. Good Papa says, yeah, Outlaws was busted on release. So many graphical issues on PC. I need to start it up again after seeing the fix of that. I said this when the game before it came out, I was very excited about Outlaws. But as it got closer, I said, I'm not paying $70, $80, $100, $120. They wanted me to pay $18, so I paid $18, paid it for the month, paid 52 or 56 hours of it. I enjoyed my time with it. But as a content creator, I looked at it and said, yeah, I like the game. I like the story. But the gunplay, the stealth, and the driving on the bike was completely and utterly broke. Okay? And everyone's like, nah, you're crazy. You're crazy, 30. It's perfect. And then the developers are like, yeah, we know it's broke. We're fixing it. Right? Then they released 2 expansions from that. I would own that game, but I'm not paying more than $15. So when it comes to GameStop in a physical form and it's below $15 because I already paid $18, okay? If it's 15 or less, I'll pick it up and own it because I think it is a good game. There's good bones there, but it was incomplete when it came out. Right? It was stupid. It's like you would pick up a gun from a stormtrooper, you would climb a ladder, but then drop the gun. And you're like, well, why would I drop the gun? Why can't I just use the gun until it's empty? Well, everyone's like, well, that's just the way they want it. Well, they fixed it. Well, now you can pick up a gun and use the gun and climb a ladder. You don't drop it and then actually use the gun, right? You can actually stealth now where the things don't see you, right? You can actually do stuff in the game where you're like, this doesn't make any sense. Now it makes sense, right? They fixed all these things, which if they did that before the game came out, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Robert Jones says, Ubisoft's formula, open world, clear encampment, climb tower, and repeat. True. Eclipse says, Black Myth Wukong sold, 20 million copies in a year? Yeah, but nobody wants to play single-player games, Eclipse. Nobody wants single-player games. It's so ridiculous. I pre-ordered Far Cry 6, cleared the first island, and then I couldn't go on with the game. Ubisoft's games are crap. Roic says, didn't want $120 to include the one mission as well. Right, the Jabba the Hutt mission. Hal says, can anyone tell me if Outriders is worth playing? I'm considering getting it. It's a very good game. I would say yes. It's a good game. It's if you're just playing for the story, I think it's worth it. What's the price of it, House? What's the price of Outriders right now? Right? And then they added some stuff. As far as a co-op game, right? It was a fantastic, repeatable, like grind type of game. It was definitely worth, what was it, $40? It was $40 when it came out. It was totally worth the $40. I don't even think it was full price when it came out. Am I wrong about that? Wasn't it $40, chat? Waterbear says, give me live service games, baby. Travis says, Outriders was great. Needed more support. Yeah. No, you could play Outriders completely solo. If you do the expeditions and stuff afterwards, but I think it's matchmaking in that, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you could play Outriders completely solo. Yeah, I played the whole story by myself. It was full price, played it on Game Pass. Was it full price? I could have sworn it was $40. Oh, okay. Outriders was released in April 2021. The standard edition was priced around $59.99. The World Slayer expansion released in June of 2022, and that was $40. That's where the $40 is coming in. It was the expansion that came out that was $40. Yeah. $8? Yeah, you'll have a good time with that, House. You definitely worth it. 100%. Z says Wayfinder has some weird lore, some good bones so far to me. I have Wayfinder. I played 4 hours of it, maybe, and I'm going to go through it sometime. It's basically in my backlog. It's a shame what happened to that studio. They were trying to make a semi MMO-ish type of game, and it just didn't work out. Then mad respect, they made a mad switch from what it was to what it is, but it just died. It died on the vine. I wonder if it's crossplay with PlayStation 5. I don't know that answer. Just do a little Google search. I was running a second to the highest difficulty on solos and Outriders. Fun game. They fixed a bunch of issues with the DLC. The game where you open path by taking photos, right? For Wayfinder? No. Am I thinking of the wrong? No. Hold on. No, Wayfinder is... No, Wayfinder's this one. Abstract. Wayfinder's this one. You're thinking of the photo one. You're thinking of the you're thinking of the wrong one. I know which one you're thinking of. You're thinking of the one where you take a picture and then you walk through the actual thing. That's a puzzle one. Viewfinder. That's what he's thinking of. Yeah. Thank you, Roic. Yeah, they did a really good job. Yeah, Viewfinder's a great game, separate, but Wayfinder's this game. And again, they've done a really good job with this, right? But it's not what it was before. They've completely changed it. This was going to be a microtransaction, heavy stuff like that. Now it's buy it, own it, play it. It's actually a really fun game. It is a fun game. I just haven't had time to play it. Like they even market it. No microtransactions. This is like a Dauntless type of feel to it, right? It's a dungeon crawler. It's very good. Yeah, Digital Extreme screwed them. Yeah, so you can play that. That's also cross play. You can play and team up with people and go through dungeons and whatnot. All right, let's go to the next one, which is Hytale. Okay, Hytale. We talked about this. Let me see. I talked about this. Let's see, 30 NSG. Hytale. I talked about this. 30 NSG. No, spelled that wrong too. When did I talk about this? I talked about this here and here. So we talked about it 4 months ago. Hytale canceled, MetaQuest, and then 25 million Hytale rescued. This was like about 2 weeks after each other is when I talked about it. Okay. If you guys like what I do, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you like to go above and beyond, Hytale is rescued. Yeah, that was the one that I did. Like I think it was the beginning of July. It was like June 24th, if I'm not mistaken, when the story broke, and then the other one I did in July. Okay, so now here we are. We're at the point now where the gentleman who said that he might come and save Hytale has saved Hytale. Okay, now in that video that I talked about 4 months ago, 5 months ago, okay, I said, because follow me here. The original guy who owned the game worked on it for a really long time up until 2020 and 2021 is when they sold it to Riot Games. Okay. He leaves. Riot Games takes over. They start making the game. They switch the engine in 2023. Okay. So 2021, it was supposed to release. They buy it. They don't release it. They start adding more stuff to the actual game. There's a 6-year-old trailer that shows from 2019 what the game basically should be today. Okay, so now Riot Games has it for a couple years. They do absolutely nothing with it. They close it down. And I said in my video 4 to 5 months ago, I said, if you're not going to do anything with it, Riot, sell it. Sell it to somebody that actually wants to do it. So the guy who originally had it said, I'm going to buy it back if it's possible. He buys it back from Riot, and now he has it. Now, when he bought it back, or when he was talking about buying it back, he said that if I get it back, he says it in the actual, you know what, let me go to this. It's this one, right? Let's see what I said back then. I forget what I said. Okay, Minecraft-inspired sandbox RPG Hytale is canceled, but it's not necessarily dead. This is
right now.
older me reviewing younger
In the
me.
wake of Riot's decision, pull the plug on development last week, Hypixel Studios co-founder Simon Collins has expressed interest in possibly bringing back to life, and says he's willing to put his money, a lot of money, where his mouth is. Hytale was revealed in the world in 2018, when it was also had already been developed for several years before, and the developer of Hypixel Studio was acquired by Riot just a couple years later in 2020. Instead of the planned 2021 release, though numerous delays followed, developer updates slowed to a crawl, it never really saw anything more than a 2018 announcement trailer. Earlier this month, Riot finally canceled the game for closed Hypixel outright.
All right, let me fast forward here.
At some point, but they kept adding more features. They kept adding more things to the actual game. So it says, as the pressure continued through, his mind slowly began to change. On June 26, Collins said he was thinking about it and was even down to put $25 million by himself to finish Hytale, although he clarified that he hadn't made any formal moves in direction. Okay, he says, I get 100% look. If I'm even down to put $25 million of US myself to finish Hytale, that's how much I believe in it. No Kickstarter, just raw passion, high pressure, high risk taking, reduced scope, legacy engine, PC only first, open source, some parts, small team. Now, see what he just said here? We haven't even read the new article yet, right? This is the stuff he said 4 to 5 months ago when he said, if I buy it back, right? No Kickstarter, just raw passion, high pressure, high risk taking, reduced scope. Reduced scope. The scope was what the scope was, and it was done, okay? Done in 2021. It was supposed to come out in 2021, okay? He says legacy engine, which is going back to the normal engine that was supposed to release in 2021. PC only first, which he said here, which they said yesterday or 2 days ago that they did. Open source some parts for small team. Cut unfinished features and accelerate towards beta. Okay, beta. You were supposed to release in 2021 with the features that you're talking about cutting and doing all this other stuff. So what happened? That's what I would love to know. I would love to talk to this gentleman. Okay, if anyone passes this around, okay, I would love to sit down and understand, not to berate him and be like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I would love to know the process of you coming out with the trailer back in 2019, 18, showing the game that you showed, supposed to release in 2021, sold it off, they worked on it, changed the entire engine, and then now you're going back to the original engine, and yet you still don't have a complete game. I would love to know what happened. Okay? So let's go back to present day here. Okay? So Hytale was once a canceled dream that is now fully back developed, and a new lengthy gameplay trailer has been released, not only showing more of the game, but also saying that early access is on the horizon. Riot Games shut down Hypixel Studios in June of 2025, effectively ceasing Hytale's development. It was also showing a lot of promise, but the game, based on the Minecraft multiplayer server, Hypixel, suddenly went up in smoke. The dream was revived in November of 2025, and the show is now, the game is back. New gameplay trailer is out. Hytale is back in development, so we'll talk about that, and we'll show that in a second. We reported that Hytale was back after being reacquired by Hypixel Studios, rebought by founders Simon Hypixel. Colin says the new Breaking of the Curse gameplay trailer shows off 16 minutes of pixel-perfect gameplay. If it was a sword and shield action, combat rolling exploration, tree chopping, dark spooky forest, and everything you're likely looking forward to. Okay, so let's look at this, right? Let's go here. Where is it? Okay, this is new gameplay. Remember, this game was supposed to launch in 2021. Come on, Roadkill. Come on, Titan. All right, so you see the combat. Let's fast forward here. Looks like a Minecraft clone. That's because it is.
Hypixel are people that used to make mods for Minecraft, right? These people that originally started this company were huge fans, and actually some of the best mods made in Minecraft were from these guys. So they decided that they were going to make a better Minecraft, because Minecraft at the time when they started making this game, Minecraft didn't do what Minecraft does today. Okay. So Minecraft, this was supposed to be better. Same with Boundless. Boundless was another game, sort of like Minecraft, that did what Minecraft did, but did better. But then they microtransactions it to hell. Okay. Hytale are a modding community that made Hypixel. Hypixel then started this whole thing. And this was supposed to be a really people that loved Minecraft so much, like, we're going to make it better. So we made our own thing. And then it was supposed to release in 2021. Then it went through a bunch of stuff. Then they sold it to Riot Games. Riot Games had it for a couple years. They changed it to the next engine. And then they sold it. Now the original guy bought it back. And now he's saying that I got it back, but we're going back to what the engine was before, not after. But the game was done before. But now it's not going to be done. You're still going to be waiting years for this thing to be done. Like, I would love this. This is like an actual story and adventure and stuff like that, and it's also Minecraft, right? There's mods and stuff that you can do in the actual game. Like, I would love this. I was a big fan of this when they first showed it. I was like, oh, cool. I love Minecraft, but I was like, I want to do more that I can't do in Minecraft. But now, since then, they've added other mods in Minecraft, and you can do this. Robert Jones says maybe Minecraft is secretly funding the destruction of its clone. Maybe. Right, so let's go a little further, see what's happening here. It's more combat. Does he do any kind of building or anything? I didn't watch the whole 16 minutes. Looks like you have day-night cycle, just like Minecraft. So it's just a combat. They don't show any kind of building. Creation tool. So you have an asset editor, model editor, world gen editor, world tools, right? You have a prefab list, spawn NPCs. So you have a creative thing. So I think my son would like this, right? So he's in creative mode. Okay, so here's some building. Yeah, see, I'm excited for this still, but it's like, I said it yesterday before the stream ended. Okay. I said if he comes out and it's like, hey, if you want to support the game, right? If you want to support the game, then, you know, pay a small fee to help us build this game, right? But if it's going to be a business model of, well, you put the 25 million up and now you're going to put a game out and you're going to nickel and dime your consumers, because that's what they are, right? We're not customers anymore. We're consumers, okay? Then are you doing like a founder's pack? And then we have to wait 2 more years for that to be finished? Because I paid $4 for Minecraft when it originally came out. Okay? There was nothing in the game. I paid $4 when the game originally came out. Loved it. And then as it got better and better, guess what? I didn't have to pay more. But then as they released different versions for different consoles and different iPad and phone, I bought another copy. I bought another copy. I bought another copy, right? Type of stuff. So hopefully this game does that. They come out and say, hey, you know what? Early access is coming out. If you want to be a part of early access, you could come in at $20 and you'll never have to pay for anything else again as far as for the game. You own everything type of stuff, right? You're coming in to help us out. We appreciate that. Here's a cheaper version of it, right? Then once it's done, then they pay full price or whatever the price that they're going to do. But I don't think it is. Something feels off about this because, well, he said it. He's like, this is what it's going to be over the next, you know, it's going to take years for this to come out. It's going to be years before it gets fixed. Okay. So he continues by saying it's vague with the understandable considering how fast it's all happening, but it also offers assurance that Hytale is moving in the right direction. Founder Simon also added that Hytale gameplay video, I promised players videos, screenshots, and blog posts one day after the acquisition. I'm keeping that promise. Now that you've also seen, see, he's making the goodwill, right? He's saying, hey, I bought it. Ding. Fans are like, yes, I can't wait to support you. Two, he's like, as soon as I buy it, I'm going to share more stuff with them. They're like, quick. He's like, yes, right? He's a man of his word, right? He's a man of his word. Let's see if this can keep going to build up that goodwill as he goes on. Okay. It says the team will also share more clips and screenshots as we go. In a matter to me, releases raw footage today. We also break the curse once and for all. Okay. He just hired back 30 members that lost their job, right? Now, obviously, the video game industry loves talking about when companies get fired. But no one's saying, hey, this guy hired 30 employees. It's like a byline. It's just like, hey, guy bought the game back. He saved it from Riot. Doesn't talk about people actually getting a job. They only talk about when people lose their jobs. Remember that, chat. Remember that. What's going on, Mo? Krebsy says, I argue Minecraft today doesn't do what it did back then. Game users get a great updates, but since like 1.18, they have been, in my opinion. I agree. But remember, there's not really another competitor for Minecraft. Roblox is there, but it's completely different, right? Games get complacent when they don't have competitors. If Hytale hurries the fuck up, but not in a broken, buggy state, they can compete with Minecraft. They can take a majority of Minecraft because the Minecraft guys, remember, my son's 11. He started playing Minecraft when he was 3. Okay? He's been in that game for 7 years. Right? 8 years? Right? Almost 8. Right? 7 years. Okay? So, he's growing up now. If Hytale gives you that next level of Minecraft, they could take that clientele and go, oh, I used to play Minecraft, but now I play this game. Minecraft was great, but now I'm moving on to this. Slug Racer says it's a cute looking game, but the combat looks super intense. I don't know if I could play this sitting on a couch. I don't think it looked that intense. And then again, he's also showing just it seemed almost exactly like when Minecraft, when you first building your first house and you're running around, you're getting scared by by skeletons and the zombies. Let's see. El Dente says, look at Overwatch. They used to release one character a year until Rivals came out. Great example, El Dente. Great example, right? No competition. They're like, feet on desk. They're like, we got nobody to worry about. Get complacent, minimal viable, and then all of a sudden Marvel Rivals comes out and they're putting 12 characters a year. Well, at least in the first year, right? 12 characters. Remember, I said 12, and you guys were like, never gonna happen. Well, some of you said it. Never gonna happen. Well, they did it. They did it. They have 11 right now, 12 with Rogue coming out next month. All right, let's go to the last story over here. If you guys like what I do, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning until noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. You can also support us by looking at the merch down below, or if you want to listen to the music that we've created, original, wrote the lyrics, okay, original music, you can go to Spotify. The link's in the description down below. Fortnite takes aim at Roblox as Unity and Unreal Engine join forces inside Epic's creator economy. Okay, Epic is bringing Unity games into Fortnite, potentially setting up major showdown with Roblox as creators gain more freedom and higher payouts. But will it be enough? Okay, so Epic is not just cool with trying to put Fortnite everywhere. Now Fortnite says, wait a minute, Roblox has this big of a chunk of change, and they're not being competed with, right? Because Roblox is not Minecraft, and Minecraft is not Roblox. Roblox is this gigantic beast that it has a free run of what's going on right now. And Epic's like, we can take this, right? Epic wants their hand in a bunch of different things. Epic wants their stuff in the movie industry. Epic wants their stuff over where Steam is to compete against Steam. Epic, now going up against Roblox with Unity. Okay. It says, in a surprise moment during Unite, Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney walked on stage at an event dedicated to Unity and completing game engine and announced a new partnership between the two companies. The collaboration will allow Unity games to appear inside Fortnite's discovery system alongside existing Unreal content. Developers will also gain access to Fortnite creator economy, which already pays out hundreds of millions of dollars to creators every year. It significantly moves and signals a much broader goal for both companies. It also puts a direct pressure on platforms like Roblox and Minecraft, which have their own creator economies, but far more restrictive rules. Okay, so can Fortnite creators' economy really compete with Roblox and Minecraft? Roblox has set a standard for closed creator-driven platforms built around user-made games, and a catalog of monetization stay locked inside their own ecosystem. Even with the limitations, Roblox has grown more than 380 million monthly active users, right? Which puts it in above platform like Steam and not far behind 500 million MAU tied with Microsoft after this acquisition of Activision Blizzard and King. Now, remember, 500 million people is a lot bigger than the Microsoft 38 million with consoles. Okay? They have 500 million people, monthly active users across all the platforms that they're doing, right? Again, Microsoft left this area over here, and now they're over on this other island with Steam, Epic, Amazon. They're trying to compete with them. Okay. For context, Minecraft sits around 200 million monthly active users. Fortnite averages 110 million active users. Okay. Although it has more than 500 million registered accounts in total, around 40% of Fortnite's monthly net revenue is distributed to creators based on community interactions and creator content. If Fortnite opens the door to Unity developers, it begins to mirror Roblox's model, but with a higher payout for creators publishing Unity games directly inside of Fortnite. Now, we just had this conversation yesterday with Steam, right? Everyone's like, Steam's a monopoly. What happens here if Epic all of a sudden gets a foothold, and 5 years from now we look at this and say, well, Roblox is dead because Epic is a monopoly, because potentially they make a better product. Developers start going over to Fortnite because we have way more people, and the kids that play Roblox are moving and growing, and they might move from Roblox to Fortnite, from Fortnite to something else, and Epic wants to pick those people up, right? So now they're competing. So it says Fortnite opens the door to Unity. It says Fortnite also creates an indirect path to reach mobile players without relying on Apple or Google's payment rules. So this is huge, okay, for Fortnite for what they're trying to do. Unlike Roblox and Minecraft, which requires creators to work inside their own editors, Epic appears to be opening the door to other engines and collaborate in the future. This partnership shows that Unity games can be published inside Fortnite without even being rebuilt in Unreal. So games like, there's a lot of Unity games, but the ones I play, like TCG Card Sim, right? Technically, that could be inside Fortnite now. Now, think about that for just a second. TCG Card Sim and all those games like Unity like that with the open world type of games. Right now, Steam's a big area. But there's also this untapped market of people that don't play those types of games because it's just they don't have a PC. Well, now you have Steam coming into a PC, making it like a console to put in your living room, right? And then now you have Epic taking Unity and putting it inside of Fortnite, which all of a sudden, TCG Card Simulator could now be on basically anywhere that Fortnite is, on mobile phones, on their, wherever an Epic launcher is, wherever it is. So all of a sudden, they just open it up big time for games like that or any other Unity engine type of game to actually be there, which is huge, okay? Allowing Unity games to run inside of Fortnite, inside of actual Fortnite itself, even though Fortnite is powered by Unreal Engine, is impressive in itself. It also gives Unity developers access to Fortnite's discovery system, which could help surface their games to new audiences. This is exactly what I was just talking about, okay? This reach extends across the console, PC, and mobile, which provides developers with opportunities to capture audiences they otherwise wouldn't be able to reach. Unity has also launched a native cross-platform commerce system in October of 2025, built directly into Unity Engine. It also gives developers one place to manage their entire digital catalog, pricing, promotions, and in-app purchases across mobile, PC, and web without relying on platform-specific tools. Unity also confirmed that Unreal Engine support is coming to the system. Unreal developers will be able to manage their catalogs, payment providers, web shops, live operations through the same dashboard, with support expected early next year. So where Fortnite goes next after opening up to Unity developers, this is going to be pretty crazy, okay? So Unity is the first major external engine to be used inside of Fortnite, but it does open the door for other engines in the future. Godot is also obviously an example of particular indie developers who also could benefit from the same type of integration as Epic chooses to expand its approach. With higher payouts and more accessible tools, we could see more of just a hobbyist and small teams. This is also an interesting thing because as we were talking about Steam yesterday with Bellular News, talking about it's a monopoly and whatnot, now that Fortnite comes in and the Epic launcher and Unity is with inside of Fortnite, developers, remember, make a better product. Like, they don't want to go. So Epic's like, well, what do we need to do to compete with Steam? And Unity's on Steam and they take a cut or whatever. But now Epic can do what they're trying to do with Apple and Google by forcing Steam to lower their prices to make it more competitive. Just based on this, Unity going into Fortnite. Should be interesting in the next couple of years. Okay, the inclusion of Unity also raises the possibility of more standalone style games entering the platform, which could help close the content gap with Roblox introduction of more complex game types of wider range of players. This will also not be easy. Fortnite's discovery system still leaves room for improvement, and it needs to evolve as the catalog grows performance. Could it also become a challenge across the wide range of device Fortnite supports, especially after the recent release of the Xbox app on PC and supports the Xbox Ally devices, which isn't going to smoothly across engine support or cross-platform stability, were critical for the work of the scale for the partnership to succeed in long term. Okay. It says, what exactly did Epic and Unity announce? Epic and Unity had confirmed that the new partnership allows Unity games to be published inside of Fortnite's discovery system. Unity also announced the Unreal Engine will soon be supported by the new cross-platform conference. Okay. You can see what Fortnite's doing, or Epic is doing. Because not only now are they partnered with Unity to put inside of Fortnite, but then they also have the big brands inside of Fortnite. They also have Disney making their own little thing inside of Fortnite. So now they have major brands coming into Fortnite. Now you have Unity coming over to Fortnite. Okay, Fortnite is a platform. Fortnite, as we know today, is different than it was 6 years ago when it was just a survival game. And now it's or tower defense game, sorry. And now it's a battle royale, which is now a platform, which is now competing for the biggest brands on the planet. Right? Basically, Epic wants to be Brondo from Idiocracy. They want to be the one-stop shop where it loves plants. You know what I mean? Like that's what Epic wants to be. They want to be the one-stop shop where everyone comes, just like X wants to be the one-stop shop and Microsoft wants to be the one-stop shop. They're all trying to fight for this position of the one-all be-all format or platform to have everyone come in and use their shit. Right? Welcome to Epic. We love you. Exactly right, Al Dente. Right? But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. What do you think this means for Roblox? What do you mean? What do you think this means for Unity games? What do you think this means for Fortnite moving forward, for competition-wise with Steam and Fortnite and Roblox and Minecraft? Let me know in the comment section. Let me know in the live chat. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe, and if you like what I do here, check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. Mo says, 30, were you able to find out if you could give your son the Fortnite crew pass? No, I haven't even done it. Is it out yet? Like, if I log into Fortnite, can I don't know if I can change it or not. I've never looked into it. I'll have to look into it. Krebsy says, gameplay-wise, Overwatch characters, Marvel rival characters, greater than Marvel rival characters. I mean, I'm not going to say you're wrong. But if someone likes Marvel, I mean, Marvel's greater than Overwatch because Overwatch is original characters that no one really gives a shit about for majority. One's an 80-year-old brand, and the other one is a 8-year-old brand. Let's see if Overwatch is still around 80 years from now. Let's see if Overwatch from now has its own comic book empire, 80 years from now. I mean, I won't be here. You guys let me know. Or let my son know. Robert Jones says, where's the tech nerds? How can Unity game run inside an Unreal Engine? El Dente says, now imagine TCG card game, but instead of a generic customers, you have Fortnite characters come in. That's a good example, El Dente. That right there would automatically bring up TCG Card Simulator. Imagine even more. Right? Imagine TCG Card Simulator inside the game, but now partners with Nintendo, and they have actual Pokemon and stuff inside the thing, but they're actual characters that are in the actual Fortnite, which are Pokemon characters that come into the actual game. Right? The possibilities are endless. Ray says Fortnite on Xbox, one still run good. Slug Racer says, imagine if it's a rapper, and they both use C plus code. I'm not even going to pretend to know what what they're doing for. I'm not a tech nerd like that. Not even going to pretend. I know what C plus plus is. I understand what Unity is, and I understand it, but I don't know how the inner workings work. If it's possible, obviously it is possible, but how easy would it be to integrate the two? I know it's Costco, not Brondo, but still. One platform to ruin them all. Ruin them all. Yeah, that's right. The new article in GXG, Tim Kaine has something to say that's somewhat connected to the Fortnite topic. Okay, let me check it out. Let's check it out. Let's see here. Fallout co-creator Tim Kaine says today's games suffer from trying to be everything for everyone when they should be learning from the 80s games, and these games are really focused because they had to be. Oh, I see what you're saying. Because all the games are trying to become... How long is his video? 12 minutes? We can watch that. Give me a second. Fortnite crew got added to Game Pass Ultimate this month. Okay. I wonder since they canceled Outriders 2, which F them, but I wonder if the People Can Fly are making now. Well, they have a deal with Microsoft, so we'll see. All right, let's watch this real fast.
Hi, everyone. It's me, Tim. Today,
if you guys don't know Tim, this is Tim right here. We have Tim. Last time we watched Tim was this.
Walks in with a question so bold. Do gamers know what they want? He's told. The crowd says yes, but then starts to fight. Tim shakes his head. Yeah, that sounds about right. Tell me what's good, not what's gone wrong. If you just complain, the list gets too long. You say, this sucks, but what do you mean? Fix the bugs or scrap the whole scene. Tell me what's good, give me a clue. If you only rant, then what can I do? Do gamers know what they want? No. Do devs know what gamers want? Also no.
Okay, so that's Tim. Let's see what he has to say.
I want to talk about lessons from old games. I've never talked about this. Comes from a good question from...
Tell me what you want, Tim. Tell me what you want.
Ewan Hasty 6779, and I hope I pronounced your name right, who asks, hi, Tim, a question that hopefully hasn't been asked already. What do you think can be learned from old games? Is there any lost wisdom out there?
Travis, you saying shit like that is the stupidest fucking thing. Just letting you know. You're an idiot when you say shit like that.
Out there. Yes, there is. Good question. Particularly good question because it's clear and short and to the point. So I really like that question. I'm not going to say I thought I had talked about this, but I do have a lot of other lessons from videos. I'll link them all below. It ranges from lessons from school, lessons from my company, lessons from failures, which I think is a particularly good one because I've learned the most from my games that didn't work out. But this is a good question about what can we learn from older games that were released. And in particular, I'm going to narrow this down and talk about lessons that you can learn from 80s games.
Bye, Travis.
Games from
See you
the
in 10 minutes.
1980s. Because A, I was there, I was present. It was my teen years, but I had a game industry job. I was making games for set-top console boxes. I was making PC games. So I know what I'm talking about, and I can speak from experience, not from, oh, I heard, but this is what happened. This is what we did. And let me just sum up for you what the 80s were like. Our hardware was not powerful. It was, I mean, my smartphone is more powerful than any computer I worked on in the 80s in terms of speed, in terms of memory, just in every possible way.
No, I don't ban people. He's timed out.
There were no hardware standards, and you guys really have to understand what this means. Games were being made for PC, for Apple, for Atari, for Commodore, for all a wild assortment of consoles. You know, Atari, Nintendo, and television, Odyssey. There was nothing standardized across any of those. In fact, if you made any game for a stand-up arcade game, it's often on unique hardware made just for that machine. There were no software standards. Sometimes we worked in C, sometimes we worked in BASIC.
Okay.
Sometimes we worked directly in assembly because that's
I mean, that's what they do now, right? If you're working in Epic or Unreal, Unity, whatever, all these different softwares that are out there, there's still a bunch of them out there.
the only way you could get the speed. There were no designs.
By the way, there shouldn't be a standard. I don't want all games using Unreal Engine. I don't want all games using Unity. I don't need a hammer to screw in a screw. You know what I mean? I need a nail for a hammer. I need a screwdriver for a screw. I don't want everything to be the exact same. I don't. I like that there's YouTube and Kick and Twitch and Facebook. Go what tool you want to use to make the thing you want to make, right? If everything was YouTube, then the world would be terrible. There should never be one of everything. There shouldn't be one unionized just engine to use for games.
Standards, there were no pillars, there were no documents about pacing and economy, none of this stuff. In fact, there wasn't even specialization in the industry. You basically had programmers and sometimes artists, but sometimes the programmers did the art. And that's it. You didn't have narrative designers, you didn't have rigging specialists. You certainly didn't have anybody who specialized so narrowly that they didn't do most of the other tasks that were on the game. So these games were really focused because they had to be. And what I want to talk about today, the lessons you can learn from that is you can learn a lot from games that were required to be focused, because I think that's kind of an overriding possible issue with today's games is they don't really know what they want to be. They try to be everything to everyone.
Make a game, sell a game.
Designed by committee, making a publisher happy, trying to guess what the largest demographic wants. So let's talk about 80s games and what we can learn. And I'm going to start with something I've already mentioned, which was hyper-efficient code. You didn't have a lot of memory. You didn't have fast processors. You needed to be efficient. It's not that you want.
Right, you had a design for the lowest common denominator. Right? You weren't trying to push the envelope. You were trying to push the envelope for what you had, not what you could. You know what I mean? You weren't trying to do 200 miles an hour in a 4-cylinder, right? You try to make what you could in that 4-cylinder, and that little 8 megabyte program or chip that was inside that cartridge. What could we put inside there?
To be efficient, or wouldn't it be cool if we were efficient? It was you write efficient code, or your game doesn't work. On the Atari console, just doing graphics required timing. You didn't say, I want a pixel drawn here. You measured how many milliseconds it was, and then you said, turn on. And it would...
Which is crazy to think about, because I remember the very first game I've ever played was bowling from the Atari 2600. And the ball where the guy would move, and then it would move from left to right, and then it would go across and hit the pins.
Turn on and turn off, and there you had a pixel at that spot in the screen. That was remarkably tightly controlled. You have no idea. And it wasn't like you could go look it up anywhere. There were no documents for any of these things. You just had to figure it out, or learn from someone who knew, or wade your way through really technical hardware specs to try to figure out what to do. What memory locations needed to have values written to them, to change the hardware into a different video mode, or to get the location of a mouse cursor or if a key was pressed. Super efficient. Second thing I want to talk about.
This is why back in the day, I'm going to kind of make an example of a film industry. When they used to edit movies back in the day. Sorry, Tim, I didn't mean to.
Is tight.
No, that's better. When they used to edit movies back in the day, they had to splice the actual film and go through the stuff and then splice it back together. So when you watch an actual movie, it's an art because the way they edit it. Now you just throw digital stuff, throw it in a thing, you can just move the stuff. It's still an art, but it's a completely different art than it was before.
Game loops. I have a video on core game loops. I don't want to repeat all that here, but I define the core game loop as what most players spend most of their time doing. That's the core game loop. In 80s games, that game loop was tight. It was, here's the gameplay, doing it, you're doing it now, you're immediately dropped in, you're doing it, have fun. And these game loops were small and tight because they had to be. We couldn't make giant sprawling games with tons of different things. Like, I think I'll go craft now. I think I'll go explore now. I go think I'll do this puzzle now. I go think I'll do combat now. I go think I'll talk to all these NPCs now. You couldn't do all that. You had to pick what section.
Well, Police Quest did a really good job. King's Quest, Police Quest. Like, if you're on this board, you can go talk to this person. Obviously, you're typing and whatnot. But to what he's saying compared to what, like a game like a Police Quest or King's Quest, it's pretty. That was considered like an open world game back then. Not really, but you know what I mean?
And what segment of all that gameplay do I want to represent? And then you did that. There was no
insert floppy 12.
The idea that you could have a core game loop that was
every time you went in and out of a door. You think load screens are bad? You would have to walk through a door and said insert 8, and then you'd pop it open, take the floppy out, put the next floppy in, close it down, and then go through the door. And you're like, oh, I have to go back. Take the floppy out, put the other floppy back in.
A huge variety of actions just pretty much did not exist. Which brings me to the next thing about 80s games is you were always playing. You can think of that as the ABP of games. Always be playing. You didn't spend your time in front of this console or this arcade stand-up or your computer watching the game show you things. If it did, it was super brief. It was like a villain would pop, ha, 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 I have the ring now, ha, ha, ha. And then you're like right in there and you're shooting, all of his minions and stuff, and I'm going to get you, villain. You were always playing. There were no 5-minute cutscenes. There were no in-game camera changing. There was no long conversations because there couldn't be. That was unsupported. So you were always playing those games. You would always be playing. Brings me to the next thing, which was 80s games had very, very focused stories. You could describe the story probably in a sentence or two because, of course, they had to be short. Usually the goals were really simple.
Person saves princess.
Find this ancient artifact. Rescue someone. Kill a villain. Maybe 2 of those. Rarely 3 of those. Not much more than that. And if the game was wrapped around a villain, it was usually, okay, I'm going to go get this villain. So first I'm going to kill a lot of henchmen or a lot of, trash mobs. And then they get harder and I may encounter his lieutenant. And then finally I'm up against the villain and it's what the whole game has built towards. And that's it. That's it. You might even play a game where it doesn't even have that. It doesn't even have a story. It's just go into this dungeon and collect treasure. That's the entirety of Gauntlet. You're
Love Gauntlet. Just a hack and slash, good old time in the arcade.
playing to get stuff, and that's it. But sometimes you're just playing to live. That's the entirety of Berserk.
Yeah, don't die.
And Antic, the sequel to Berserk. You're just playing to live. How far can you live?
Right.
Like Pac-Man. How long can you go on a quarter? That's the entirety of the story. Which brings me to the related thing, which is settings. All these games have very simple settings that can be described like, remember when movie trailers used to always start, in a world? You could do that for 80s games, and you would say one sentence, and that would be the entire setting. Aliens have invaded. Necromancer is running amok and killing people, and then bringing them back as zombies. Or the robots have rebelled. You need to stop it. And that's it. That's the story. Now, there could be some complexity for the player to look for. There might be books for them to read, pop-ups that they can, they click on something and a pop-up happens. But you didn't have to do it, and there weren't nearly as many of those as there are in today's games because you just didn't have the memory to store all that. And yeah, I'm talking text. We didn't have the memory to store all that text. We didn't have much memory.
Which even makes it even more amazing with games like Police Quest and King's Quest and stuff like that, because you're typing the answers and it's responding to you.
Like to point.
You know what I mean? Like you had to type in "open the door," and then it would open the door. You couldn't just click a button.
To the Lord of the Rings at
Like
this
choose
point.
your
'Cause
own
I love
adventure.
Lord of the Rings. You can view this the setting of the Lord of the Rings as, you know, here's an older here's a fantasy world. And then the storyline is basically the bad guy lost an artifact. If he gets it, this whole world is destroyed. So let's go destroy it ourselves. That's it. That's the entire thing. There's a lot of complexity that you can dive down into if you want.
House says, all these people who trash Gollum, I bet they didn't even play it. Yeah, that's the reason they shit talked it. Not because they saw it and went, man, that looks bad.
But you don't need it. And since earlier games couldn't provide it, they just gave you that
Robert, did you ever see the person that modded Skyrim in VR, where she could talk to each NPC and they would respond back to her? It's crazy. That is the future of open world games like that, where AI can all of a sudden respond to you what you're asking in real time. That would be nuts.
bare bones setting.
That's the starting point of Ready Player One.
Hey, you live in a fantasy world. Hey, there's a bad guy. Go destroy his ring. But doom. Okay, so what does all this mean? What lessons can you learn from all this? Old games couldn't do very much, so they avoided
But whatever they did well.
a problem of modern games that I see as becoming indulgent. They add too many things, thinking those more of those things make the game better, when really what they do is they dilute the game. I frequently, because I'm always talking about food, I'm thinking about food, talking about food, eating food. Think of a fancy restaurant. If you've ever been to really high-end restaurants, sometimes the most delicious dinners you've ever had have a very small set of ingredients. It's, here's this sea bass, and here's a little bit of salt, and maybe one or two seasonings, and some butter. And what's amazing about it is how it was prepared, and that the ingredients are the absolute freshest, best, nicest things you could possibly get. You wouldn't even know where to buy some, a fish or a cut of steak of this quality, and you might not be able to. Some of the really high cuts of beef are sold to restaurants first, and you're lucky to be able to find them. You'd have to go to a butcher to find them. You're not going to find them in your grocery store. What I'm saying here, there weren't a lot of extras, so it had to be done right. So those early games were kind of...
I mean, basically he's saying, make a game, right? Whatever that is. If you're making the most complex RPG ever, or if you're making a side scroller, just make a game.
like fancy restaurants. You kind of had to do it right, or you really couldn't do it. And I'm saying there were a lot... I'm not saying there weren't a lot of bad games. By bad games, I mean not good for you. But when you play a lot of games back then, you encountered your bad ones, the ones that ran slow or crashed or just didn't work right or you didn't like. But most games back then, the barrier to entry was so high, by the time you made a game, it at least was efficient and tight, because it had to be. And the question now is...
I mean, I played a lot of shitty games back then, by the way.
Can you do this today? You can. The
Yeah, you can. Look at games like Expedition 33.
problem is you
Baldur's Gate 3.
don't have to. So I see it a lot in indie games more often, because indie games, since it's usually done by one person or a very small team, they don't have a lot of people to do a lot of things. So they focus on a very tight core game loop.
What he's saying is 100% true, but this is the problem with the bigger companies. Upper management. The upper management is supposed to wrangle in the developers that are doing all the stuff, right? They're supposed to fine tune and focus, make them focus, because artists just like to wander, right? They'll keep adding stuff if you keep saying, hey, what about this? What about this? They'll keep doing it. They won't finish the project they're working on. They'll continue working on other things and make the project bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, instead of managers. And this is why most AAA studios fail, is because of upper management.
You can do this too. But the difficulty is, when you start making a game, it's easy to go, I want to add this, and I like this, and I just played a game that had this, so I want to pull it in. You need to be simple. You need to stay focused. And whatever you do has to be extremely well executed. And then you'll be like that fancy restaurant. You don't got a lot of ingredients in that meal, but that meal was delicious. And I will throw out, I know discoverability is an issue. I got a whole video about it. I'll link it below. But everybody faces that. The big pubs face it. The small indies face it. The big pubs deal with it by having a big marketing budget. The indies can try to overcome it by, if you're small, simple, easy to describe, and super good at what you do.
This is why indie companies focus on. This is why companies like Steam work, because Steam doesn't have to market people. If the person, I watched a whole bunch of videos on this. If the person that's making a video game, let's say, is an independent developer and they don't have the budget to market, they can play it. They pay for information on people. This is why Steam, Microsoft, Sony want you to sign up for stuff, because they know your habits. They know your spending habits. They know your playing habits, right? So if you're a person that understands the way the algorithm is, okay, you're a developer. Let's say you're making an RPG or you're making a strategy game. It knows what people are playing strategy games. So you don't have to market to everybody to get people to buy your game. So when you play a survival game, in your recommended list, it says, since you played Enshrouded, you might like Dune Awakening. You might like this, right? So they get that information and they know, and now there's a completely separate money on the back end where they don't have to spend marketing. They can spend specific marketing where they're like, yeah, I would like people from the ages of 15 to 24, right? 15 to 24 that like strategy games. Okay, I want from 40 to 60-year-olds that like playing these old school, strategy games. That's what it's marketed towards. Very direct marketing. This is why all these companies, when you think that they're not sure, they're like, oh, it's no big deal. They're taking your information. They know how long you played, what games you're playing, what you've purchased, right? That's what they sell to these people. So when they make a game, they're like, all right, this is our clientele. This is what we're going for. You don't need to be so broad to make it to everybody, because a person that likes strategy games might not like your sim game.
It's like a friend always says, cream rises to the top. Good luck.
Yeah, make a game, sell a game, right? Imagine that. So, I like that face at the end there. My Steam adverts are heavily slanted towards turn-based RPGs and RTSs. Yeah, and everyone that's making an RTS or RPG is on that list. So when they make a game, they go, there's 5 million people that play RPGs or whatever. That's who they're marketing towards. Right? I get it all the time because I play a lot of survival games. They constantly send me indie titles for survival games. Right? That is very, very good for people that are making games. So you're not marketing to everybody. You're marketing to only the people that you're interested in. Right? And they place that. And then the advertisers pay the company like Steam or Microsoft to show it, because my dashboard is different than your dashboard based on whatever you're interested in. So we haven't watched Tim Kaine in a while. He's got a lot of different videos. Man, he's grown a lot. I gotta look back at how many people he had when we watched him last year compared to this year. He's grown a shit ton. I don't even think he had 100,000 subs last time or the first time we watched him. I could be wrong. I don't think he had 100,000 subs last time. Good for him. All right. Well, that's going to do it for me. We'll be back in about an hour or so, playing some more Arc Raiders with Mr. Luke and also Sweat Dog. That'll be over on Twitch. Well, actually, I don't know if I'm going to stream on Twitch because we were having issues with the internet earlier. So we're just going to stream over on 30 and Still Gaming. If you guys want to come by, check it out. We're playing some Arc Raiders. We'll be back tonight to play some games with Sarge for Shooting the Shit with Sarge. That's over on 30 and Still Gaming as well. And then other than that, we'll be back tomorrow morning for the Daily Grind for the Thursday edition already. And then Generation X Gaming, the weekly podcast that goes over a few of the top stories from the past week, and we rant along the way. Don't forget, tomorrow night on GXG, we will be going over each of the categories inside the Game Awards, and we will have votes. So it's going to be a completely different show this Thursday. Okay, we'll tell you what we've been playing and stuff like that, but then we're going right in. It's going to be less stories and more of voting on what you guys like or what you guys think are going to win or not for each category. And then I will mark it on our list, and that way when we watch the actual Game Awards, we'll see how close are as a community, which ones we got right or which ones we got wrong. Appreciate it very much. You guys have a great rest of your day, evening, or night, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Russian games, man, they all felt the same. Run, loot, die, rinse, repeat. Leave with nothing but defeat. But then I saw the lights from the sky, metal beasts fall, and I had to try. Booted up our raiders, thought one quick round. Now I'm lost in the sound of that battleground. The dust kicks up, my pulse starts to race. Every drop feels earned, not a waste. Didn't think I'd stay, but here I remain. Embark, built a world that changed the game. I was done with the grind, but they flipped my view. Now I'm flying high with my Raider crew. The quality hits, the polish shows. Embark made a game and it truly glows. They didn't fake it, they didn't sell hype. They built a dream and got it right. Yeah, I was wrong, I'll say it today. Our creators blew me away. Our creators blew me away. Every raid, a new story to tell. Blast of fire and chaos. Oh well, the skybox, man, it feels alive. Retro future, keeping dreams in drive. Not a cash grab, not a scam in disguise. They respect my time, and that's the prize. No empty promises, no broken core. Just pure gameplay I've been waiting for. The world feels real, the danger's true. Each fight's a moment that pulls me through. Didn't think I loved this fight, but Embark brought the thunder and light. I was done with the grind, but they flipped my view. Now I'm flying high with my Raider crew. The quality hits, the polish shows. Embark made a game and it truly glows. They didn't fake it, they didn't sell hype. They built a dream and got it right. Yeah, I was wrong, I'll say it today. Our Raiders blew me away. This ain't your average soulless clone. This is skill and passion carved in stone. Embark delivered, they broke the mold. No filler, no lies, just pure gold. Now I'm dropping down, I'm in that zone. One more run before I head home. Used to doubt, now I can't delay. Our Raiders all night, all day. I was done with the grind, but they flipped my view. Now I'm flying high with my Raider crew. The quality